Guys, our story begins on a hot summer evening at a public swimming pool. The pool is already closed, the last visitors have gone home, and only one lifeguard remains inside, finishing up before locking the place. She heads to the showers, but suddenly realizes that she is not alone. Someone or something else is still inside. For a moment, everything seems completely normal, until a loud crash suddenly echoes through the building. Something that does not seem human goes after the lifeguard. Her cries echo off the walls before slowly fading into a terrifying silence. Guys, this is the mysterious creature around which the entire movie will revolve. But right now, we have absolutely no idea what it is or where it came from. From here, the story takes us to a quiet, isolated countryside near an abandoned old mill, where our two main characters finally meet in private. The first is Ryan, a boy who does not seem afraid of anything. Whether it is snakes or dangerous heights, Ryan's eyes are always filled with mischief. With him is Naim, a nervous boy who has recently moved to this town and seems frightened by almost everything. When a venomous spider lands on Naim's shoulder, he panics and quickly knocks it away. Ryan looks surprised, almost as though he enjoyed seeing this normally timid boy suddenly lose his temper. However, there is also a strange tension growing between them. Naim feels that Ryan completely ignores him at school, acting as though he does not even know him, but when they are alone, Ryan becomes an entirely different person. Ryan refuses to admit that he behaves this way, but deep down, both of them know the truth. Before leaving, Ryan makes Naim promise not to tell anyone about the mill. This place is their own secret world, and they want to protect it from everyone else. The scene now shifts to a church, where we finally begin to understand what this town is really like. It is a deeply religious community where nearly everything revolves around faith. A very young girl, who barely looks like a teenager, is receiving a blessing while holding her baby. Naim quietly points this out to his mother. Here, we are introduced to Naim's mother, Arlene, the community pastor, Rod, and Rod's son, Hunter, who attends the same school as Naim. Rod repeatedly asks Arlene to stand before the entire community and share her story, meaning her personal testimony. Guys, as the story moves forward, we begin to see a gentle and emotionally deep connection developing between Naim and Ryan. During a quiet moment, Naim shares a memory about his mother. He tells Ryan that one night, while an orange streak stretched across the sky, his mother heard the faint jingling of an ice cream truck and told him, "Look, Naim, God is calling you." A younger Naim became annoyed and replied that it was only an ice cream truck, while his mother simply continued laughing. Naim quietly says that his mother used to laugh a lot. After sharing such a personal memory, he feels slightly embarrassed, but Ryan reassures him that there is nothing to be ashamed of. Ryan then asks him a simple question: what does Naim actually like about this place? Naim explains that moving here was his mother's decision because she believed that she belonged among other believers. To Naim, none of it makes sense, and he feels trapped in this town. Ryan asks him again, is there really nothing here that he likes? Naim quietly answers, nothing. However, the unspoken truth hanging between them is that there may be one person keeping Naim from completely hating this place: Ryan himself. Back at the church, Arlene shares her testimony, and we finally understand the pain hidden in her past. She explains that her husband Tom was developing a devastating illness. Tom would spend hours walking outside simply so that neither of them would have to talk about what was happening. While Arlene sat alone in that unbearable silence, she found someone who listened to her. Someone who spoke not about the end of life, but about hope and living. For her, that person was Jesus. She now says that she has learned to love silence because it makes her feel protected. Guys, this is the pain that will influence every decision Arlene makes as the story continues. Meanwhile, an important turning point takes place. Naim secretly arrives at the home of Rod and his wife Jackie. He is clearly distressed and seems emotionally overwhelmed by something he's been carrying inside. Most importantly, he repeatedly begs them not to tell Hunter or anyone else that he came to see them. Naim has shared something deeply personal with the pastor's family, and this seemingly small moment will later have serious consequences. Guys, we now discover that this community also has its own supposed solution for this particular problem. During a church gathering, Ryan and Hunter begin talking. Hunter believes that his parents' events are nothing more than a performance, a show designed to mislead vulnerable people, but Ryan asks a surprising question. He wants to know whether that man can make something stop. What exactly does he want to stop? Ryan never says it directly, but we begin to understand the truth. He wants to erase the feelings growing inside him, feelings that this community has taught him to view as wrong, and then we are shown what this community calls healing. A deliverance healer is performing a ritual on a young boy. He repeatedly pressures him to abandon every impure thought, every forbidden desire, and everything the community considers inappropriate. Not tomorrow, but right now, at this very moment. A lighter is ignited, and the healer begins reciting a disturbing passage about two kinds of fire, one that marks a person with shame and another that supposedly purifies them. He then repeats the biblical story of Aaron's sons who created a fire of their own choosing, only to face a fire of judgment in return. Guys, this is where the meaning behind the film's title is finally revealed. Leviticus, a story built around shame, purification, punishment, and fire. But in the middle of this ritual, something horrifying happens. Hunter suddenly collapses to the floor. He struggles to breathe, and his entire body begins to convulse. Panic spreads through the hall as people scream for someone to help him breathe, and Hunter is not the only one affected. At that exact same moment, something similar happens to Ryan. Two boys hiding the same secret both become victims of this so-called holy fire. And the healer? He shamelessly continues repeating his ritual, acting as though everything happening around him is simply God's will. In the middle of all this, the film also shows us the true cost of Naim and Ryan's hidden relationship. At school, Ryan becomes a target of bullying, and whenever the two boys meet in private, they are constantly terrified that someone might discover them. Guys, after the ritual, Hunter's condition begins getting even worse. He tells Naim that this so-called healing has already been performed on children from several nearby towns, but something strange is now happening to him. Every night, whenever he locks himself inside his room, something comes to visit him. Completely broken, Hunter says that someone throws things at him, that they do not do anything else, and worst of all, nobody believes him. He is trapped in fear and loneliness, while everyone around him refuses to understand what he is going through. And then the thing they feared finally happens. One night, something suddenly attacks Hunter. He screams, struggles, and runs away right in front of Naim. Naim tries to save him and repeatedly calls out his name, but Hunter disappears into the darkness, as though some unknown force has swallowed him completely. Guys, this is the film's first major shock. Hunter is gone, and Naim has witnessed the entire thing with his own eyes. Devastated, Naim goes to the police, where he meets a female sergeant. He tries to explain that some strange creature took Hunter's life, but the sergeant interprets his story in a completely different way. She tells him that when people cannot accept something painful, they sometimes deny the truth and create another story to replace it. When Naim insists that the same creature is now following Ryan and will come after him next, the sergeant warns him that he could get into serious trouble for interfering with the investigation. In his desperation, Naim finally reveals his greatest secret. He explains that ever since childhood, he has carried feelings inside him that he was afraid to understand. After moving to this town, that fear became even stronger because he realized that Ryan shared those same feelings and the two of them had grown close. Naim begs the sergeant to reach the deliverance healer through Hunter's father, Rod. The sergeant promises that she will look into it, but that promise leads to something far more disturbing. Back at home, Arlene has already made a terrifying decision. The police officer has convinced her that Hunter's fate was connected to the same hatred and fear directed toward children like Ryan and Naim. Believing that she is saving her son, Arlene personally takes Naim to the deliverance healer. Naim screams, begs her to stop, and desperately tries to break free, but several people hold him down. The lighter is ignited, the same ritual about fire begins again, and Naim's cries echo throughout the room. Guys, what Arlene believes is an act of protection is actually the very thing that pushes Naim into the path of the curse. Immediately after the ritual, the film gives us one of its coldest and most unsettling scenes. At Hunter's funeral, Arlene behaves as though nothing terrible has happened. She brings Naim his favorite sausage rolls and pizza, even removing the olives because she knows he does not like them. A mother who has just allowed her son to experience something deeply traumatic is now calmly serving him food as though it were an ordinary day. This disturbing sense of normalcy becomes one of the most frightening parts of the entire film. Naim finds Ryan and tells him that his mother took him to the deliverance healer. Ryan is stunned, and then it begins. The creature starts appearing to Naim as well. For one terrifying moment, Naim sees Ryan's face as the creature and screams at him to stay away. Ryan immediately understands what has happened. Naim has seen it. The curse is now hanging over both of them. This is when they meet Izzy, Rod and Jackie's daughter and Hunter's sister. She tells them a terrifying story. Two girls had also visited the same healer in the past. One of them later lost her life at the swimming pool, and everyone claimed that she had simply slipped and fallen. Izzy once believed the entire story was nonsense, until her own brother Hunter saw the creature with his own eyes. And the second girl? Her name is Jessica. She now spends every hour of every day inside a hospital in Murrayville. She stays there because the creature only appears when its victim is completely alone, and a hospital may be the only place where someone is never truly left by themselves. Naim and Ryan head straight to the hospital. At first, Jessica tries to make them leave, but then she reveals the most important truth about the creature. It always takes the form of the person you care about most, whether that is your best friend, a movie star, or someone you once had feelings for. It knows everything about you. And the most terrifying part is that nothing can stop it. Absolutely nothing. Jessica gives them one final warning that changes the direction of the entire story. As time passes, the creature becomes better at looking like the person it copies and behaving exactly like them. That is why she repeatedly tells Naim and Ryan to stay away from each other, because the more time they spend together, the stronger the creature becomes. Before she can explain anything else, hospital security arrives and forces them to leave. Guys, beneath the shadow of this fear, the connection between the two boys becomes even deeper. While riding on a bus, Naim suffers a panic attack, but Ryan helps calm him down. He repeatedly reminds Naim that other people are around them, so the creature cannot do anything to him. In the middle of this fear, Naim begins considering a difficult decision. He plans to leave the town because staying close to Ryan may only be making the creature stronger. However, Ryan does not want him to leave, and he blames himself for everything that is happening. But the creature now begins striking even when other people are nearby. Outside the school in front of everyone, Ryan suddenly collapses. The other students panic because they cannot understand what has happened to him. The meaning is clear. The creature has become much faster and far more powerful than before. Meanwhile, Rod's devastated wife tearfully begs him to bring their son Hunter back. But Naim's mind is now focused on something else. He tells Ryan that he is going to take the bus to Murrayville and leave town. He also tells Ryan not to follow him because the two of them need to stay away from each other. And then comes one of the film's most beautiful and heartbreaking moments. Ryan explains that leaving town will not change anything. The creature will simply take the form of the next person Naim cares about, and then the person after that. Naim's response is devastating. He says that if he has to live with this creature for the rest of his life, he does not want it to take anyone else's form. He wants it to always look like Ryan. At this point, Izzy persuades them to get into a car with her. She claims that her father told her where the healer can be found and that the healer can take the curse back. Naim and Ryan travel with her to an isolated location, but there is no healer waiting for them. It was a trap. Izzy blames Naim for Hunter's fate. She says that everything happened because Naim told her family the truth and because of what he supposedly made Hunter feel. Suddenly, several boys emerge from the darkness. Calling Naim and Ryan two boys like that, they rush toward them, attack them, and pin Ryan to the ground. Guys, what Naim and Ryan believed might be a cure turns out to be a carefully planned act of hatred. During the attack, Ryan somehow manages to escape. He takes Izzy's parents' car, pulls Naim inside, and drives away. A heavy silence fills the vehicle. This is when the truth behind Izzy's anger is finally revealed. Naim admits that he was the one who told Rod and Jackie about Ryan and Hunter. Ryan is devastated by the confession and orders Naim to get out of the car. But before leaving him behind, Ryan gives Naim one final and extremely important warning. He tells him that if he ever sees something that looks like Ryan, he must never go near it, because it will never truly be him. Back at home, Naim tries to explain everything to his mother, Arlene. He tells her that there is a creature that appears whenever no one else is nearby, and that it always looks like Ryan, but Arlene refuses to believe a single word. Instead, she twists the situation around. She tells Naim that, at his age, other children can make him believe he is experiencing feelings that are not truly his. She claims that Ryan has gotten inside his mind and convinced him to believe something about himself that is not real. Angry and deeply hurt, Naim demands to know exactly what was done to him during the ritual, but Arlene simply picks up her bag and coldly tells him to remove his belongings from her room and start preparing his own meals from now on. Guys, watching a mother reject her own son like this is more painful than anything the creature could do. That night, Ryan appears at Naim's door, looking completely terrified. He says that the creature is in the backyard and desperately begs Naim to open the door. But this is where the film reveals its deepest form of horror. Naim is alone, and the rule of the curse is that the creature only appears when someone is by themselves. Because of this, Naim cannot tell whether the person standing outside is the real Ryan or the creature pretending to be him. Ryan responds that he has the same fear. He has no way of knowing whether the person inside the house is truly Naim either. Two people who deeply care about each other can no longer even trust each other's identities. Even then, for one brief moment, they lower the walls between them. Ryan teases Naim by reminding him of that day at the old mill when they saw a snake holding a frog in its mouth, and Naim looked as though he was about to throw up from disgust. The memory brings a faint smile to both of their faces. Then Naim finally gives Ryan a sincere apology. He admits that he told people about Ryan and Hunter because he was afraid of his own feelings, and afraid of how deeply he cared for Ryan. Ryan responds by saying that he was never afraid of those feelings or of the love between them. It is a gentle and honest moment. But suddenly something violently tears through the gate. Terrified cries echo through the darkness. The film intentionally leaves us with one disturbing question. Was the Ryan standing outside the door really Ryan, or was it the creature? Naim somehow manages to escape and runs away. After this, we see Naim inside a store just as it is about to close. He desperately begs the cashier to let him stay a little longer. He does not need anything. He simply needs to remain around other people. Just one person, anyone at all. The creature has now become so powerful that even a single moment alone could be dangerous. Then comes the most mind-bending part of the film. Ryan and Naim stand face to face and both repeatedly insist, "It's me. It really is me." But neither of them can tell who is real and who might be the trap. This is exactly what the community wanted, to make the two boys afraid of one another. Believing that he must protect himself, Naim starts a fire. In the middle of the confusion, he leaves Ryan behind in the flames and walks away. Ryan is now missing. A search party begins looking for him. Voices echo over the radios as people search through field after field, but they find nothing. Just like the creature's previous victims, Ryan seems to have vanished without leaving any trace. Meanwhile, at the old mill, Naim finally forces his mother to reveal the truth. Arlene tries to comfort him by saying that Ryan probably ran away. But Naim breaks down and explains that ever since she took him to that man, both he and Ryan have been suffering continuously. Then Arlene reveals the coldest truth in the entire film. The curse can never be reversed, and she already knew that. Stunned, Naim asks whether she truly knew. Arlene admits that she did. She had been told that the ritual would keep Naim safe. Naim shouts that he is not safe at all. He is living in constant terror. Arlene's response is chilling. She tells him, "We need fear, Naim. Fear is what keeps us alive." Guys, we are now approaching the ending. The search party eventually gives up. Ryan cannot be found anywhere, and everyone begins moving on with their lives. But then another terrifying moment arrives. Someone is frantically calling out for Naim, only to discover that Naim is gone as well. He has already left. Then comes an ending that stays with you long after the movie is over. Naim is about to board a bus heading toward the city when he suddenly notices someone. Ryan. It is the same Ryan he cares about more than anyone else. But after everything that has happened, Naim can never know whether the person standing in front of him is the real Ryan or the creature, which has now learned to imitate him perfectly. The two of them are then shown sitting together on the bus. For several moments, Naim simply watches him, with hope and terror filling his eyes at the same time. Inside his mind, Naim can only say one thing: "Please tell me this is really you." And on that unanswered question, a song begins to play and the film comes to an end. Guys, this is the true horror at the heart of the film. The creature hiding in the darkness is only a symbol. The real monster is the fear and shame that a closed-minded and intolerant community placed inside these children. They were forced to believe that their love was something wrong, something shameful or broken that needed to be fixed. That poison transformed the most beautiful feeling in their lives into the very thing they feared the most. Naim may never again be able to tell whether the person standing in front of him is someone he loves or something that could destroy him, because when someone is taught to fear love, they may spend the rest of their life unable to separate love from fear. And that leaves us with one final question. When someone is condemned simply because they care deeply for another person, who is the real monster, the frightened children, or the people who filled their hearts with fear?